All right, everyone. We'd like to welcome Savio and Shabam to the show. Could you guys both introduce yourselves? Tell us what you do for AWS, and we'll start there.
Definitely. And I can go first. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Sarah, and hi, Jeff. Nice to meet you too. So I'm Shubham Mehta. I'm the Senior Product Manager for Generative AI Innovation and Data Processing. So my I lead the strategy and roadmap for building generative AI features and making developers more productive when they deal with our services like Elastic MapReduce, EMR, and Glue and other services. And with me, we have Savio. Savio.
Hey, Sarah and Jeff. My name is Savio. I'm an engineering leader here at AWS. Like my team builds generative AI services for analytics space. We work on building and enhancing interfaces with AI and AI-driven technology.
Yeah, awesome. And so I have a feeling we're going to learn about how Amazon Q can make something easier, but let's paint the picture. And I've mentioned ETL and Farah mentioned AWS Glue. Can you tell us what we're going to be talking about here?
Definitely. I can start with ETL and we'll let Savio jump in. So
And what's funny
ETL
with ETL, I know people that work with data absolutely know what ETL is. And I think a vast majority of people in IT know what compute and storage is, but I think not everyone has heard that term before. So let's start there and see where we go.
So ETL is what is known as extract, transform, and load. And it is the process with which organizations can actually make use of their data. Otherwise, it's just data sitting around there and you are not really using it for making business decisions. So let's say you're running a gaming company and then you will have data coming, user telemetry data where like how Farah is playing Mario Kart, and you will get to know, okay, like you'll get to know all this data coming from the Farah's device and you're collecting that data. And then in order to promote your Mario Kart game, you're actually running different promotions on Facebook, on Candy Crush or other places. So you're collecting all this data with the process called ETL, which is extract, transform, and load. In order to make sense out of it, extract phase is basically collecting data from different sources. Like I mentioned, the user's devices. It could be some other warehouse or some advertising platform like Facebook. And then you're transforming it in order to actually join it and understand, okay, how like has Farah played other games that we should actually care about and we should be promoting there so that Farah actually comes back when she forgets about Mario Kart due to work pressure, then it helps her. And that's how it makes sense to have this ETL process. And that's why it makes sense to have this ETL process to make sense of your data, to drive your business decisions, to make those critical decisions.
I can imagine this can be a very interesting process, and there's probably a lot of ups and downs, kind of like a game of chutes and ladders when you're building these, and trying to integrate, this data and understand how it all works if you're ingesting it from multiple platforms. But I'm assuming that hopefully maybe we're going to hear about how Amazon Q might help to simplify, some of that.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I think before we jump into how Q simplifies things, we should talk about some of the challenges of ETL, right? So it's like playing the game of Dungeons and Dragons, right? It's complex. It has a lot of challenges, right? So think about data complexity. You have data coming in from different sources. This data can have inconsistency. It can have complex business rules through which it comes through. Then you have the second layer of the challenges, which is you need to optimize this, right? You might want your reports at the top of the hour or in a minute, in a day. So you have some of those challenges. And then lastly, you have a cadence in which you need to operate. So for doing this ETL process, you need a platform through which you can execute the systems. There are multiple platforms that provide this service. We specifically are talking today about Apache Spark. Apache Spark is an open source platform that is used to process this big volumes of data effectively and efficiently. Spark has a lot of goodness that we will talk later on during our demo. But right now, let me just introduce you to what is a good way to interact with Apache Spark at AWS. So AWS Glue is a serverless scalable data integration service which makes it simple to discover, prepare, interact, and create your data from different data sources. And it provides you Apache Spark with like Python and all of the goodness in a serverless, fully managed offering, which makes this whole ETL process very seamless for our customers.
Yeah, I imagine like that Python part and the transform and ETL, that is like data is coming in. Maybe it's formatted a certain way and you need it to be formatted a certain, like another way. So maybe like coordinates. I always think of like GPS coordinates. If you buy coordinates from one supplier and buy coordinates from another, maybe the comma is different and maybe it's formatted slightly different. That's going to cause problems to your application. So you need to transform that, make it all together. And part of that, the T that is transforming is making those changes row by row.
That's exactly right. Like writing an ETL and running an ETL pipeline is like playing Elden Ring without having the right build for it. So you need to have up level yourself. You need to have the right character, like right tool set in order to write those transforms. And that's what we're going to talk about, like one of the tool set which will help you write those ETLs.
We can talk about this, and making examples is kind of easy, but is that pretty hard to do? And I imagine Glue makes it a little bit easier because it's a managed service. But in general, making these pipelines to do these transformations, extracting it, transforming it, and then loading it somewhere. I mean, you have to build that stuff, even though Glue is a managed service. So what's hard about that?
Yeah, so there are a lot of challenges in this space, right? So if you start thinking about the data sources through which you have to interact, so let's just pick some examples, right? Like you have Amazon Redshift, you have the DynamoDB, let's say you have some MySQL instances, these are your three sources. They all have pretty unique and nuances around them that you need to know to like connect to them. Once you've connected to them, you then have to like know what kind of transformations these sources can support. And then effectively, when you're trying to write this data back, like they again have some of their own nuances when you're trying to write these data back. So Glue provides you a set of tools that are like catered towards our low-code, no-code users and experienced users, which can easily get you packaged solutions pretty quickly out for your ETL process.
Yeah,
it sounds very exciting. I mean, I'm kind of excited. I'm kind of like hoping we're going to get to see a demo or something.
Yes, exactly. So we are going to be demoing how you can use Q to build these ETL pipelines.
Gotta do the demo dance. Gotta do the demo dance here. Like. All right.
So today in the demo, we will be using SageMaker Unified Studio and Glue. So SageMaker Unified Studio is something that we previewed at the last reInvent. It completely transitions how you will be building your data and AI applications on AWS. So instead of having these earlier, your teams had to use different tools and different studios in order to process data, in order to write machine learning applications. The Unified Studio actually brings all of that together in one unified package, unified environment where all your data scientists, your analysts, your engineers, they can all collaborate together. Now you would think that, well, you're bringing all these things together, doesn't it make it complex? Well, no, because we have designed it purposefully in order to help your teams collaborate. And this is powered by Amazon Q. And Amazon Q here helps you like up levels all the skills of your team so that they can, like, if your data analysts want to interact with your ML models, they can actually use Q in order to interact with ML models that data scientists have built. So it makes it pretty easy to deal with all these things. And in the SageMaker Unified Studio, we will be actually let me quickly go over what are the data sets that we have that we'll be using in order to do the demo. So if you look at it, like the beauty of SageMaker Unified Studio is like I have the same place where I can see my data sets. Today we have two data tables available with us, which is event ID and venue ID. Our focus is today, the demo that I'll be doing in the first half will be focused on how a low-code, no-code user, a person who is not very familiar with programming and all, how people like us, they can go in and they can actually build out ETL pipelines pretty easily. And that's why, and the use case that we want to solve is like, let's say you have a website and there you want to filter out events that are happening in DC, but like you have all this events table that contains all the events, and you have this venue table that contains all the venues. How do you go about filtering out what's happening in DC? So I will get into, let's go into the data analytics section, and we'll be building visual ETL flow. Now, as you can see, like earlier I was able to see my data, and now I'm here and building visual ETL in the same environment.
Yeah,
And-
Shubham, I think at this point, I think a lot of the data engineers who are watching might be saying, oh, this is where I maybe write a SQL query to filter that data, or this is where, as Savio said, maybe I write a little Python script to get that information. And that might be easy for some folks, but it sounds like it's going to be easier with Q.
Absolutely. So Q is super, like an amazing tool that really helps the customers to quickly streamline their workflows. Today, we'll talk more specifically about Amazon Q data integration that goes specifically towards building your data integration pipelines. So Amazon Q data integration, similarly to Q, relies on our customers interacting with us in plain English or a natural language. You just declare your intent. So Shubham gave you just a use case that you have a website which has the data stored in different sections, and like you want to like pull it from those data sources, apply some business logic, and like get results of like events happening in DC. We'll take a stab at trying to go do exactly this using SageMaker Unified Studio Visual ETL. Shubham, let's go.
Awesome.
For it.
Yeah. So let's say you want to create you want to create an ETL flow that connects to your catalog tables, venue, and events. As we saw that we already have two tables in my database, and join it on the venue ID. And so we saw that, like, I remember with my schema of my database, but that's what we want to join on, because we want to get what is going to be filtered when you select DC. So you join it on and write the data to S3 in CSV format. Let's see what we get out of this.
Okay, awesome. And while we're waiting, we got a question in the audience, or from our, yeah, I guess in the audience. So does the ETL, the ELT process have components that can be directly used in Spark, or should we customize and build it using Python? I plan to use Spark for the job.
So Spark actually comes out with a lot of inbuilt transformations, and you can actually use it to, like, you don't generally need to define your custom transformations, but it gives you the flexibility if you want to go that route. So one thing, as you can see, like this interface, the visual ETL interface already defines all these aggregate change columns and all these transformations. So you can just drag and drop them, or you can define them that you want to use this, and you can actually start with that.
Right. And to just add on to what Shubham is saying, right? Like Spark is a very powerful ecosystem, and it has a lot of tools and techniques that you can use. In a world which has like a lot of these options, it is really difficult to pick the right one. And so if you were to use like a Q data integration product, it will make a logical choice for you that might be the most appropriate transform in this case that you want to connect to get the outcome you want. So, and we can definitely see the script as we start building this workflow. So Shubham, what are you doing next?
So I'm actually, one thing is, like, I think I wanted to add two catalog tables, but somehow it got only one catalog table. So I'm trying to actually, like, in case this kind of thing happens, you can easily bring in another catalog, another lakehouse table, and you can customize it up to your needs. So in this table, as I can connect it to my database. So I already have this database, and I want to, let's say, use events, and I have this other one in which I want to connect it to venue. And later I want to actually connect it with the join transform. So do you want to go over like what Lakehouse does and what these components are to some extent?
Sure. So like what Shubham is seeing is like, this data is cataloged in Glue Data Catalog. He created this table in Athena and then had this table indexed. And then we are now looking at the tables that like Shubham has access to in his catalog and are able to connect in their ETL workflow.
So somehow the demo dance did not do me good. I mean, yes. So
Well, we can use the backup demo dance, Shubham, if you want.
So,
Yeah.
let me recap. It looks like right before we took that question, you did that nice like couple sentences asking what to do, and it brought up kind of those first three boxes based
Yes.
off of your prompt. And then you
Yes.
were saying how like, okay, even if that first prompt doesn't get it, we can add things. We can take what it started, and it gives us a good starting point to add things if we needed. So what didn't it include?
So it did not include this another node for Lakehouse. Like I had mentioned that I want to connect to catalog tables, but it can happen because like
Gotcha.
in the end, all these things are getting processed with LLMs, and it sometimes does not parse all the right things. But as you can see, like I wanted to join this data on venue ID and E underscore venue ID. I had mentioned it in my prompt in my natural language with natural language, and it recognized that I want to join this data on these two, and that's what it. And the good piece is with the SageMaker Unified Studio, you get to see the preview of all your data in the same place.
Right. So as you start building your ETL workflow visually, you don't have to like run the whole job to like see the outcome and then like iterate through it through different loops. You can actually just see it through the data preview feature on this visual layer that you see. In addition to that, right, Shubham, if you click on the show script option, what we can show to our customers is like,
it's right now, it's not because it has errors. I will quickly fix it.
Okay.
So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is the fun part of doing a live demo. As you try to like go through this, right? Like you now have the right tools in your hand, you're very satisfied with the workload that you want to go, but you want to do something that is not available in a visual layer. At that time, we do give you the option to have the script. The script is well formatted, well commented out for you to know what each section of the code is doing. And so this can really be a very helpful onboarding assistant for our customers as they are entering into the world of like complex business transformations, especially in like data sources that are complex.
Exactly. Yeah, and I can also see that I think a lot of times folks will see like a no-code solution and think, oh, that's for beginners. I'm not even going to bother with that. But in fact, what this does is really give you a good starting point, and then you can still use your coding knowledge to fine-tune things, and you've just saved yourself a bunch of time. So it's just not necessarily for someone who doesn't know how to write SQL queries or doesn't know how to do exactly what they want, but it helps them just do what they need to do faster.
Exactly.
Absolutely. It accelerates like experienced developers, definitely.
And as you can see, like I did not have this Lakehouse node connected to my join. I simply wrote connect my Lakehouse node to join, and I could connect it. So, and right now I'm trying to configure my join. I wanted to join on venue ID. I wanted to actually join on, because on the upper side we have the event table, and on the lower side we have the venue table. We'll be choosing which node. Right now it is trying to understand the schema. It understood the schema, and we have selected the venue ID, and now it will actually be able to join this data. But wait, we actually wanted to filter out the data with DC, and we are missing the filter node as well, because we did not ask for it. So you can actually go back and you can ask a follow-up, can you add a filter node with filter on venue state as DC after the join?
Because you initially showed us there was a bunch of different venues, and at first you said, let's just look at DC. You didn't put that in the initial language.
Exactly.
And you're going back and you've realized it, but it's not a matter of, going through the code and having to manually do it. You can just use natural language to add that.
Exactly. Like it's not like in the real world, when you're doing development, you won't always have the complete thing laid out in your mind. You do it in iterative process, and that's what we are here to power with this Amazon Q data integration. So it has added the filter node. I wanted to filter it on DC, and all that is done. And right now I did not mention S3 path, so it did not try to give some random S3 path where you don't know. Right now, if you want to, like, you did not mention S3 path, you can actually select it from the browse option, and you can choose, okay, where you want to write this data. So I can select this. And the reason I'm selecting this S3 bucket is specifically because I want to show you how you can go back and see it in the SageMaker Unified Studio itself. And let me select the partition key. And after that, we'll go over the code quickly. So it is recognizing the data. Okay, so we have the partition key drop down ready. We want to partition on the venue ID, and I want to select my database that is already there, and let's call it events in DC.
I'm curious, how does the Amazon Q data integration understand the context of, like my AWS resources and configurations? If you could talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So what we do is we have like our ability to do some natural language processing to extract this sensitive information that our customer provides to us. Then we generate code, and then we work backwards on injecting this sensitive information back into the ecosystem and generate a more complete solution for our customers. So that's why you saw, like, when we did not provide a S3 bucket, we put a placeholder saying S3 path. So it's like very helpful and educative. If we were to leave that as blank, that could be a tough starting point for someone who is very new to the world of ETL development and could just be scared by seeing a red color box. So that's how we do it in the background.
So I've taken the liberty to run our project so that we can actually see the results, and because it takes time, because in the background we are actually provisioning the resources, the notebook session and all, in order to run your ETL that you just made. And let's use this time to quickly go over the code. So Savi, do you want to give a run through of the code?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I said earlier, right, like we have all the right imports at the top. As you can see, we're importing the right libraries we need. So we have the Glue transforms, we get the PySpark because we're writing the code in Python. Once we get the Spark environment set up, we have the right sources that we've added. So we pull data from Glue data catalog or like Lakehouse, and then we ran a query to like fetch the right events. We did a join on them. The next node after that is a filter. And then eventually we saved the data to the S3 location and also made an entry to the catalog to write it back to the table that we want. So effectively, you've got a full starter script that is doing a complete business logic of like achieving your use case of like getting events in DC from a raw data set.
Like all you had to do was just tell Q what you want to build out, and the script as well as the visual, the overall ETL flow is all generated for you. And while it is running, we can go and see when the data becomes available. So here we will be getting the data. Oh, wow, we have the table available already. So we wanted to filter out events in DC. And again, the beauty of SageMaker Unified Studio, you don't have to jump to Athena now to query it. It's all available in one place for your analyst to check it. And let's quickly see what is the table looking like.
Yeah, and the good part about this is through this integration, it also populates a boilerplate query for you. So you don't have to like figure out how do you get there, right? Like you had the solution right there, and it just ran a limit 10 query for you.
Perfect.
Exactly. So we have already.
But yeah, like that. Like
yeah.
That
Yeah, well, you know what? We're at time and we got this table. So I guess we wanted to, first of all, thank you. And also thanks for showing SageMaker Unified Studio. Even though we're just talking about the data portion of it, I think Unified Studio is going to be a really big thing for a bunch of use cases. But for for ETL jobs, Glue, and Amazon Q with ETL jobs, if we had some viewers watching that say, yes, I want to play with that, where would you recommend them going to learn more?
So definitely, like I would suggest, like go into SageMaker Unified Studio and try out by yourself. Nothing beats trying out by yourself. And at the same time, we have amazing sessions that we did at the reInvent. Like you have plenty of YouTube videos which you can watch to learn more. And of course, we have written down multiple blogs. Like I can share the link later, but we have written down amazing blogs on going over this entire process. And if you have any feedback or if you want to collaborate with us in building out these amazing features, do reach out to us. Like we are always like reach out to your account manager and connect with us, and we will be more than happy to collaborate. Like we're always looking for partners to build together.
Yeah, and we have a lot of fun things in the pipeline, especially when it comes to troubleshooting your ETL workflows and upgrading your ETL workflows. So if any of these are your use cases, reach out to us. We're very excited to collaborate.
All right,
Awesome.
guys.
Thanks
Thanks
so
so
much.
much for, yeah, thanks for joining.
Awesome. Thank you, Farah. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Pleasure.
Guys, see you.